Today, we are joined by Ted Katagi, founder and CEO of Kenja, a blockchain for certification company that focuses on the sustainable development goals, clean energy, food, and compliance. Kenja has developed an enterprise collaboration platform that delivers the benefits of blockchain in an intuitive and visual way. And today, Ted will present on Kenja's enterprise collaboration platform, which allows enterprises to leverage blockchain for added security, immutability, and transparency. Kenja's platform creates a visual trust layer for businesses to effectively share and organize information in a simple and intuitive way. Companies are also using Kenja to implement blockchain certification processes, such as Halal certification in Indonesia and supplier authentication for a major retailer in Japan. Briefly, before we begin, I'd like to give some background on Ted. Ted Katagi is a senior executive, former head of private equity Asia for Fidelity Investments, chief marketing officer for Vodafone Japan and Verizon Wireless West, and global head of commercial strategy for Vodafone. Ted is also a former IBM and Bain & Company executive. In 2011, he founded Kenja, and in 2020, Kenja evolved to become a blockchain for certification platform. Known as the visual certification layer, Kenja gives full provenance, transparency, and traceability to certification processes in an intuitive and visual way. The flexibility of the platform lets Kenja have a wide variety of use cases, working alongside the two main auditing bodies in Indonesia. I already mentioned the Halal auditing, and they ensure that food vendors and producers are in accordance with Sharia law. Another use case is certifying the quality of food processes in 4,000 factories for a main Japanese retailer. We welcome your questions at any point during today's presentation. You can submit them via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we'll take them after the presentation. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Ted and the team at Kenja, and I will hand things over to you.
Marcina, thank you very much for the introduction. And that's so thorough that I'm about to say, maybe I can end the presentation right here and get questions, but I will still go with the presentation, of course. And let's start with right now with the first slide. So as Marcina was saying, our phrase, and actually was given to us by Sandra Rowe, the founder and CEO of GBBC, is the visual trust layer. And I'm going to be explaining why I think this is important for the blockchain industry as well. So what is the barriers to blockchain adoption? Of course, there are many companies already in the ecosystem working on the blockchain itself, but we think there's things around it that are barriers to adoption. So one of it is there's no clear value for the consumer. So, there's Etherscan out there. It's a 64-bit hash, and people are like, what does this mean? It's not really user-friendly, and they can't really see what was hashed in a visual way. The other thing that we have is there's no authentication of the content. And what I mean by that is, of course, the blockchain authenticates a piece of information, but that usually is content. And what's lacking is there's no content management system to date that was blockchain certified. Another thing is that the pure blockchain view would be that we're going to completely go decentralized, and we are going to remove central authorities. And this is kind of an issue if you think about it. If you're thinking about ISO certification or Halal certification, does the average consumer or business really understand all the details of ISO or Halal? Or wouldn't they rather, as they do today, go to a central authority that says this third party has verified that they've looked at all the data and they know this? And then the third issue of authentication is the blockchain itself is secure, but not necessarily the peripheral systems. So those peripheral systems have to be enterprise-grade security as well. So a third thing that we see is that there's plenty of solutions out there that are focused on developers. So of course, smart contracts is a great innovation, but it really requires scarce programming resources. and the users don't have the power to self-configure. So if a user themselves, if people in this audience or myself, if I wanted to do that, it's been many years since I had my computer science degree. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do a smart contract easily. And the final thing is that once you've even built a system, how do I integrate that with existing systems? So these are the barriers. And so Kenja's developed a solution to this by saying there's a visual trust layer. So, so the visual trust layer, what does that mean? So now instead of just giving you the 64-bit hash, now we're going to visualize that as a published website. You'll be able to see if there's a butcher of a halal, we'll be able to see the picture of that butcher or the actual PDF certificate. It's going to be intuitive, and it's on that published website. The trust means there's a content management system that's integrated with blockchain. We have partners that actually certify, and we give holistic security in the company and the platform. And the layer means that the user themselves can configure things, and I'll show this what our software does in tiles. And when I say that user configures, it's not, people talk about zero code. Zero code actually means you actually have to be like a developer and think like a developer, but you can actually put things around in the UI. I'm talking about it's beyond zero code. It's the users themselves working like they would with a collaboration tool and actually being able to put tasks themselves. And the final thing is it's easy to integrate this with common systems. And around all this, we put the Kenja platform solution. So one of the key questions is, okay, unique value proposition, but what about security? So, so we go into enterprise grade security. What does that mean? So enterprise, they want to know that the company they're working with, Kenja, in our case, we work with a lot of enterprise companies because my background is enterprise and the people we hired are all enterprise people. And so we've had a case, and I don't disclose the exact companies because a lot of them, because of their own security, they don't want to let the public know, but it's a Big Four accounting firm working with a global telecom carrier for their security in their internal security operations. That's one use case. Another use case is a global investment bank, a top 3 global investment bank, compliant with the NIST 1.1. Again, these are not POCs. These are production, in other words, real use cases with real people. So Kenja's been in business for 10 years, and that's what gives us the maturity to work with these kind of organizations. NTT AT is basically the sales division of NTT Labs. NTT Labs is one of the top researchers in internet security. They're using our platform out of the box to teach about cybersecurity. And of course, whenever any of these companies have worked with us, we work with them and they upgrade our security. When we had to go to NIST 1.1, there's a lot of things that we had to do to upgrade. And that's how we make sure that we're at the highest levels. So one is our experience at the production level. The other one is we have a highly secure platform. So integrated blockchain. So I had a call with a Gartner, the top Gartner analyst for blockchain, and she verified that we're the only one that she knows that's a content management system that's an integrated blockchain in it. And so we do that at that level. We have high security options like IP whitelisting, 2-factor authentication, and we've been security verified. And the company itself is secure. So we're ISO 27000. We have a cybersecurity consulting team, and we're on Amazon AWS, but as a backup, we have our own dedicated bare metal servers. So in other words, we have servers where we have as a backup, we actually know where they are. And so we have that type of security operations as part of our ecosystem. So talking about the actual solution, there's 3 phases that we go through with our clients. And this is no different than anybody else. We have a discovery phase, prototype, and we scale. But what's different about us, and this is why I highlighted the discovery thing, is that because we have a platform, unlike other vendors, which might have to do a smart contract and get into requirements phase and the prototype, we can show you out of the box a demo, hundreds of use cases. And in fact, I'll be showing this right after this, I'll show you our out of the box Halal solution, for example. And we have discovery of the issues, and we actually have a business analyst that we pay for that actually maps out the basic things. we do that so we can propose, get a proposal with an actual return on investment. Because one of the issues that we've heard from other people is some of the CIOs are a little bit reluctant, like, where's my return on investment? And we want to show that up front. So then what we do, so now that we've solved the Kenja solution, there's two basic types of companies we work with. We work with enterprise solution companies, and we work with some of the top companies in the world, 7-Eleven or 7 & I Holdings, which is the parent company, Randstad. And these companies, we've had joint press releases. They've been our customers for years. That's why. And I've already told you about the top 3 global investment bank. But those kind of companies, we have a flexible solution where they tell us about their needs. We have a platform, and yes, it's SaaS, but unlike most SaaS providers, we understand that they'll want to add their own special requirements, and we do that for them. And that's one of our reasons why we have those logos up there. And then the vertical partnerships are very different because they're companies that you may not know about, but they do things like they do Halal certification in Indonesia, and they do CNC IoT devices, for example. So those are vertical partners that we do. So next page is we'll talk about Halal. So there are 2 organizations that we partnered with, and again, a typical blockchain pure approach would be, we don't believe in working with the central authorities because we're going to disintermediate this. But remember, if you're working in Indonesia, if you want to be legal, there's only 8 organizations that have been certified by the government to do that, and we're working with 4 of the 8. And so this is one of the things. So there's a legal reason to do it. There's a reason of consumer trust. As a consumer, they can trust Muhammadiyah. There's 50 million members. So wouldn't you trust your own organization that you're a religious member of, and that their clerics have certified that as a halal thing, than even yourself? So that's why we partner with the certifiers. And the challenge in Indonesia was that they had a loss of consumer trust because of food scandals. The government wanted a new solution. We wanted to provide an easy solution for end users to understand. And we wanted to do it very low cost. I'm talking about under $50 per year per supplier. Okay, that's an order of magnitude cheaper than any other solution we've seen on the market, especially with blockchain. And I'll tell you how we done it. We did it because, of course, we need to do full auditing and traceability. We have an auditor ID program, but the difference is that we're not doing package level. At that price, we can't do package level certification. We're doing a blockchain per supplier. The blockchain happens to be Binance in that case, in a public blockchain, but we're actually blockchain agnostic. Our platform is really a content management system. We layer on blockchain solutions. We can layer on any coin if we any coin that is available publicly. And the latest updates on that is we completed under budget, ahead of schedule in December. We completed the trainings. We were waiting for the APIs with the government. We finished that. And now we're going into production this next month. So that's Halal. And now what I want to do is I want to cut to a demo of our system. I want to show you actually what does Kenja Rooms look like. So this is actually our real interface. And the interface is a little bit dated, but we're going through a UI refresh this year. But anyway, you have different categories. Each of these blue squares is just like an app on your phone. So financial transactions or blockchain and CMS or third-party agreements. But let's go to blockchain and certification body. And so we go to this room, and then we'll see there's all sorts of certifications. So this is a demo. This is a demo version. So an actual user wouldn't see this, but we're showing you the range of use cases we have. These are all out of the box use cases that we have. So Halal certification, go straight to that. And then with Halal certification, there's 3 different types of certifications. If you're a certifying body, you would see certain types of rooms. If you're a supplier, you do that, or consumer. But let's go to the certification body. And then on the certification body, you'd have all sorts of parts of the supply chain that have to be certified: the slaughterhouse, the food producer, etc. Because in Halal, they all have to be Halal approved. So let's go. If you're a certification body, you would have different procedures, as you can imagine, for each of these different types. So you go to the slaughterhouse. And then there's different types of templates. Do we want to prove the legality of the company, or do we want to actually show the halal assurance system? And we go to halal assurance system, right? Now we actually go to, all right, now I'm talking about halal assurance for what company? Now, what do I wouldn't know? I would want to know about their halal policy, their management team, their training. And so each one of these things, in fact, it's not just stop there. We scroll down. There's many different types of categories you'd have. Okay, as you can imagine, it's a fairly complex thing. And this is what Kenja does out of the box. We have all these things that we can create this in hours, not days. And so halal policy, if we go to halal policy, right? So here's where you're seeing the visual aspect of it. I don't just see there's a PDF or a document. I don't just see a list of files, because the typical content management system, it would just see a file. So there's a file thing, and we can show it that way too. If you want to see the files, that's one way you could see it. But instead of just seeing the files, isn't it a lot nicer just to see the file, the visual thing of it? And we can say, hey, halal policy, everyone must read this, right? So you see, what is the information about that file? You see the metadata on that, right? And then we scroll down a little bit, we can see not just the documents, but we can see here's the tasks on these as well, right? And I can go as a user, I can go to the document directly, and I can view the document without actually having to download it. So I can see this, and I see that somebody said, look at this, please. And we can just reply, okay, yeah, sure, thank you. And then we add that, and there's a collaboration layer that's built into this. So again, now you have something where we have a process where halal policy is done, but we actually have the ability for the auditors to collaborate with each other. We close off this. Now, this is we showed you content, we showed you metadata onto content, we have tasking against the content. And the other thing we do is we do a transaction log. And the transaction log is there so that we can see exactly who did what when. So if you scroll down here, you can see, okay, here are all the different transactions that were done on this room. So now that we have all that, let's go back to the typical room view. Now that I have all this done, wouldn't it be great now that I'm all done now, I'm ready to put this into a formal archive. And I say, now that it's been archived, I don't want anyone to touch it. At that point, then, and at that point, but for the demo purpose, I can click on that hash on the blockchain. And this is where this is the integration of the content management system with blockchain. It actually says we already did this before. So we can just view the details here. Just view the details of this. And what you see here is Etherscan actually is giving you the 64-bit hash. And it's still waiting on the actual block and timestamp. But this instead of just having this, wouldn't it be great to have something that's a little bit more visual that the consumer would see, right? Or the average user. And so let's go back to our halal template room. And then why don't we have, so we could work on this level, but one of the really unique features of rooms is that we have the ability to make this instantly into a website. And what do I mean by that? We can publish this as a website. So there's a publish room. And on the publish room, we can have a number of different templates that we provide. So we click on the publish, and then we can go to a branded certified body, and with one button, we can click on that certified branded body, the top branded website. We can click on that, and then now you have your actual website. So this is the same exact as before, but now it's much more user-friendly view. So remember halal policy, I can click on halal policy. And then with halal policy, then you can see the same information we were having before. This is important, everyone needs to read this, and blah, blah, blah. All that information is there. This is showing you the actual information. And if we want, we can put a QR code here and attach it to the blockchain that I showed you before. So this is the difference of our visual blockchain. So the idea would be, isn't this, as an industry, wouldn't this be so much nicer to show what is that blockchain, what is behind, what is the content behind that hash? And that's not what the typical consumer is not seeing. Isn't it much nicer now to see the PDF? And let's go back to, this is showing what the certifier sees. Let's go back to the Halal certification level. Okay, and then remember I said there's 3 different levels: certification, body, supplier, and consumer. If I go to the consumer level, okay, they might see different things, like they see still the abattoir food producer, but let's publish this website. And on them, we can add different things for like consumer, and consumer information and all the other things. So on this consumer, if I go to the abattoir and see the information there, now I can see, okay, the legality, but we can see general information about halal. So general information about halal, or the abattoir information. So click on one of those, and the abattoir information. Now I can see the actual certificate, and I could see pictures of the slaughterhouse, and I could see, it's again the visual trust layer. So isn't this a lot nicer to have a hash applied against this than just it goes straight to Etherscan? So this is again that visual trust layer that, and this is why the companies like the Global Investment Bank or Randstad or the Halal Muhammadiyah, this is why they chose us, because we do have that visual trust layer. So let's go back to and again, I'm happy to ask if there's any questions. People can raise their hands. Let's see, can we see the participants if they're raising their hands? Oh, there's a question. One raised hand by Omi Saye. Yeah, so hi. Okay, it was just a hi. But let me pause here to see in chat if anyone wants to raise a question and see if there's any questions today. I maybe I was a little bit energetic, so I am a few minutes ahead. So any questions from anybody? Let me just pause here for a second.
Yes, so we have gotten a few questions in the Q&A box.
Okay.
So I will start.
I see it. Right.
Yeah, so one asks, it says, Kenja was founded in 2011, but embraced blockchain in 2020. Why did you integrate blockchain into your platform? What led to this shift? Okay, so it wasn't really 2020. It was a little bit earlier, but that's fair to say is that, yes, we've been around a lot longer than blockchain. So one of the things is that we had a vision about content management system and tasking for process, right? And we had some good success there, but what we saw is that we're missing a little bit of our story. This is a little bit too generic for the people, and we have a great thing, a published website, and then we started looking. We got some questions around blockchain, and then when I looked at blockchain, this is kind of like the perfect thing, the perfect Reese's peanut butter, if you will. It's like we already have a content management system, and we deeply integrate blockchain. Boy, there's so many use cases that we can address that no one else can do. Because the problem is in content management system, as you know, there's SharePoint and Adobe's there. There's a lot of, it's a crowded marketplace, right? And so by putting blockchain on it, we're in a very unique space. Now with the visual trust layer, that's not something that SharePoint integrates at a deep level. And so this is one of the things that we saw as a big competitive advantage for ourselves. You're anonymous, and if you choose to stay anonymous, that's fine. But did I answer your question? You can even say anonymous, like yes, or you can even put the mask of the anonymous white mask. I think that was a great answer, Ted. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So another question is, do you handle on-chain and off-chain the same?
So that's a great question, Paul. So the blockchain element, where blockchain comes in is we have a set of information in the cloud and we apply a hash at that moment. So at that point, it's gone to our blockchain, and at that point, we're handling it in a different way, because at that moment, it's all blockchain, right? But until then, you're running on Kenja platform, a SaaS platform, which is NIST grade, version 1.1. We've done things, and I did talk about like the investment bank. I'm very proud of our security, because when we went to a global investment bank, we had to go to the top level of security. And what they said is, we want to do on-premise. And we're like, okay, we can do on-premise, we can do that. And they said, yes, we want to go on-premise with our data, but we want you to be in the cloud, because we don't want your software, which we can't verify completely, on our servers. So we had to do a hybrid of their servers. We had to go their servers on their storage and our servers in the cloud. And that was a solution that we did for them. But so when I say off-chain, I know that, okay, there's a lot of blockchain believers, including me in this audience. And so you're saying, well, are you really that secure when you're off-chain? And the point is, we are that NIST 1.1 grade. And then we're on-chain, we treat it separately. So Paul, I hope I answered your question. Was that good?
I think that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Ted. And we have a lot of questions actually coming in.
Okay, great. All right, so one of the things is, so I have 4 other use cases that I was going to go through really quickly, but I'm going to I'll go through the questions, because I like questions more than just going through my stuff. So let's keep going.
Okay. So the next question comes from Denise McCurdy. She says she's reading a lot about carbon tracking. What are your views on using your solution for carbon tracking?
Okay, thanks, Denise. So on carbon tracking, that's a great emerging use case, because greenwashing is a huge problem. People say you're green, but you look at carbon certificates, they're running from anywhere from 50 cents to $100. It's true, for the same underlying 1 ton of carbon removed from the atmosphere. And so greenwashing is a huge issue. And what people need is, they want to see the information behind the carbon certificate. Actually, we're still on the thing, so we can even go to that demo for a second. Is that it's the UNFCCC demo, so blockchain and certification bodies, and there's the carbon certificate, right? And then there's the UNFCCC. So the UNFCCC is the UN established process for thing. There's a supplier template. Go to the supplier, yeah. So go straight to the supplier. And then there's all sorts of types of suppliers. So solar, let's just go to solar. And then for solar, then there's 3 steps: validation. Sorry, go validation. Okay, and validation. Now there's like 6 steps or 8 steps for UNFCCC. And what they usually do is go to the bottom on this is they'll have a PDF on this. And it's this big, long 50-page PDF. And how do you actually certify against that? That's crazy, right? It's like, how do I prove all that stuff? So what we do is we turn exactly all that information to a set of rooms. So now you have step 1 through 8. That PDF was 8 sections. We copy pasted that PDF. We copy pasted into these rooms. So go to step 1, go to that room. And then now we're saying, this is the purpose of validation. They have other reference documents. We could put it all in there. We can put the tasks against there. So this is a cleaner way to do UNFCCC right out of the box. So that's the example right there. So Denise, I hope we answered your question. Okay, next question.
Excellent. So another question asks about whether the visual trust layer is useful for governments, not just enterprises, and whether you have any use cases for government.
Oh yeah, so we are actually working with the government. I can't say which one at this point, because it's still fairly confidential, but we're working with the government on digital ID. And so blockchain use cases, the visual trust layer, what does that mean? So, okay, so you can do your records like usual, but wouldn't you like to have as a visual trust layer, and something that's a little bit more technology proof? So, people are doing retina scans and all these things, but wouldn't you like to have, and we actually have patents under file on this one, but wouldn't you like to have multi-factor authentication? So you'd have digital ID and you'd have a retina scan and another physical form. Now, and that's not our layer. What we're doing is we're saying these are all part of the visual trust layer. So all these authentications, they get put up as videos. And you see a guy smiling and a guy laughing. And that's another form of authentication, for example, right? And so, and then you see the person's driver's license and other things. And because we do access control layers, some people like banks are shared certain information, government sees certain things, and on the blockchain, you then have things. So, okay, great. Thanks. Lots of questions. That's great. Next question.
So another question is about how you see the potential of Kenja working with a green building certification, whether you think that would be possible.
Yes, so actually that's a great use case, and I'm actually talking to one of our customers, I can't say which one, but about exactly that use case. So their use case is they have a lot of, and it starts with just labeling things. So it starts with they have all these energy bills, right? And so these energy bills, they need to show these energy bills applied to this property, right? And we've actually looked at this. So the energy bills, you can think of these energy bills going to a room, these PDFs, all these things, right? You can see that. And the interesting thing for them is that one of their headaches is that they have all these different manual formats, and it's taking them hours to do that. And so as a solution, and remember, we're a solution provider. So what we're talking about is bringing in an AI partner to then do matching of invoices through machine learning and getting them up to a first stage of 60% matching. And then we believe in 6 months, our partner working with us can get to 99% matching. They've done it before. So that's how we can do green buildings.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Another question asks about whether you work with crypto wallets to make the hashes visual. They really like kind of seeing the hash, and whether you've done any work in that space.
Yeah, so we have talked to some of and if there are people who have a coin, we'd be very, very happy to talk to people more on the crypto side of things. We are looking for partners, and I said we're agnostic to the coin. And so I think the solution would be like a joint marketing sort of thing of like we can provide it, Kenja, and we have revenue share type of opportunities. So right now there's a coin, but wouldn't it be nice to have a coin with a visual trust layer on top of it? So that's the sort of easy answer to that one.
Excellent. And of course, over the last year, we've seen an explosion of interest in NFTs. And Paul is curious if you can walk us through the user experience in an NFT use case, like art or musical rights provenance, or whether you have something analogous.
Yeah, I wish yeah, so it's pretty easy to visualize those. So you see the rooms right here, right? So that PDF right there could be a JPEG, right? And that JPEG would be a picture. I have the demo, but it's in Japanese, and I'm just trying to remember where that is right now. But so it's one of those things. But we actually work with an art dealer, and for exactly this type of thing. So wouldn't you want the provenance of it is here's a picture of the artist actually. Here's a picture of the artist creating that art, not just the art itself, but creating the art. And here's an authentication by a PDF from one of the big four that says, yes, we actually visited it and we audited it, and it is what it is, right? You have the full provenance of this on a Kenja room with who touched what when, and we visualize that with one touch. That's kind of the vision for art, NFT applied to art. And then you apply it an NFT instead of here we had ERC20 in that case applied, but it could have been an NFT applied to that.
Excellent. And you've spoken about many different industries that this is touching or could potentially touch. are there industries that you view as kind of the best fit for this use case, or you
Or
view
for
it as
visual trust
very
layer?
flexible?
Yeah, and actually maybe we should go off screen share too, because yeah, I'm like yeah. So one of the best use cases, the industry with the best use case is in finance, and the reason for that is compliance is driving finance in many ways, and and we're not doing what Consensus and others are doing for an ICO or doing bringing blockchain to the that side of the business. It's much more on compliance. What do you need to do on compliance? I need to show a regulator that I had these content and I did these tasks and these people touched this at this time. And that's exactly what Rooms does. And we apply a blockchain against it. We archive it. And at that point, then the compliance officer knows they can show without a doubt what we said is exactly what we are giving you, the regulator, right? And we're working with some pretty big financial institutions on those solutions now.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense. We have another question from George, who asks if you can walk us through any use cases for the circular economy.
Yeah, so the circular economy, that there's some great use cases, particularly like with used cell phones. So in the industry that I'm from is Vodafone telecom, and there's all sorts of layers of energy waste or ways that we could apply the circular economy. And the biggest thing is the cell phone itself. So if we think about a cell phone, okay, with the circular economy, what happens after that cell phone? Right now, there's really not a great way to certify that I'm getting that back. Now, as an operator, the mobile operator, a lot of times in subsidized businesses, we actually are, and I'm still telecom, I'm saying we, but they go through and they have to actually provide the cell phone. And wouldn't it be great if the cell phone operator said, hey, there's a whole circular economy approach to this. So we have a certified process. And there are players like, and George, I know that you're one of the players in this industry is Macquarie Investment Bank. You're in the space of doing the circular economy, right? Of having a way for the telecom operators to get that cell phone back out of circulation with a blockchain to say that yes, we actually are taking care of responsibly now disposing of that highly toxic cell phone. So yeah, I think hopefully that addresses that, George.
Excellent. So another question is from Dorcas. She says, thank you for the great presentation. Kenja is a very useful platform. She's used it, I guess, on her thesis previously. And she's wondering if you've considered opening it as a solution for universities. The idea behind this use case would be to integrate it with plagiarism software online so that student documents would be automatically checked for plagiarism when they upload them to Kenja Rooms before the supervisor reviews them. So a visual trust layer in education.
So there's a great, so so full disclosure, I'm a professor at a business school, a part-time professor at NUCB. And I'm actually using it for case writing. So for case writing, so they do a seminar, an MBA thesis paper, and they upload the paper. And right now there's a different party that does an anti-plagiarism software, but we could easily integrate with them through an API and then say, here's a blockchain, and we certify that at the time of writing, it wasn't this. But Dorcas, be careful what you ask for, because if we did that and you did plagiarize it, there'd be a blockchain and forever you're the person that uploaded that plagiarized document. But yeah, that is an interesting use case too. Thank you for the question.
Absolutely. So I'm mindful of time. If people want to get involved with Kenja, where can they go? What should they do if they want to demo? How can they reach out to you?
That's a great question. So let's go back to the screen share then. So going back to the where we left off, there's a and I'll just go through. I have like 3 minutes to go through, but so So I talked about the Halal example. One of the ones we're really proud of is a partnership with an IoT device company. And the IoT device company, they have the IoT platform, and it's for heavy, expensive use machinery. And what we're doing there is we're applying a blockchain to show the maintenance records and the provenance of that. So that's a great marriage too, IoT and blockchain, and Kenja, of course. Next page. Another example is Japan Wind, the largest wind provider in Japan. They have a due diligence of buying and selling their energy projects, and they're sharing it with some of the largest companies in Japan. But they're doing due diligence with Room, a due diligence room, if you will. Next page. 7 and 11. That's another one of our big customers. They have over 1,000 factories overseas, and they're using it in production. So with TUV Rhineland, which is one of the largest ISO certifiers in the world, they partnered. So and Kenja, the three of us, we worked on a system to provide food supply safety at the manufacturing level, right? So that's another company. Next page. So now finally, Marcina, your question is how to get involved or get in touch with Kenja. Well, one is our website, kenja.com, Kenja. If you want a copy of our materials, Maximo is our marketing head. Business development head is Tomoki Fukasawa. And if you have questions about the presentation or you want to talk to me directly, I'm at ted@kenja.com. You'll probably remember Maximo's got a long last name and Tomoki. So if you just remember anything else, ted@kenja.com, that's fine. You can contact me.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ted and Natsumi, so much for joining us today. It's such a brilliant platform and such a visual way to look at so many of these ideas that seem very ephemeral. And we look forward to continuing our work with you. Is there any final thoughts for the audience?
And one final thought from me, Marcina, is that, and you are one of our customers too. That's why you can attest to it, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Any final questions at all?
I think there was one about any reference for blockchain implementation in the complex server structures in telecom.
Complex servers and telecoms. No, I don't have an existing use case, but email me and I'd be happy to talk about it. That's telecom is my 10 years as C-level executive there. So I definitely know that industry pretty well. My last point, the final takeaway is that for most of my life, I was in large companies, enterprise. And I remember for one of my largest customers in Japan asking a $60 million a year, global automotive company. I asked Vodafone, I said, please, can we just do this one thing? And they said, no, because there's a bigger car manufacturer, right? So just because you're big doesn't mean you can have the resources, but with us, we're big enough. We have about 50 people, but we're small enough where you can actually contact me and I'm there. I'm the reason why I think that we will make the company, our partner customers successful. So anyway, that's my final thought for today. And thank you everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Marcina, and thank you, Sandra, for hosting this as well. Really
well, thank you again so much for making the time. As a reminder, this will be distributed. It's been recorded and we'll push it out through our various communication channels. And we look forward to seeing what's next from Kenja. So thank you again, Ted and Natsumi. And thank you everyone for taking the time to join. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody. Okay.